No, I didn't write the scripts in advance. So I wrote scene ideas primarily, and we'd start and we'd shoot whatever I could. I'd come in, I'd say, right, we're doing this, we're doing that, and then then I'd go and dream a bit more and come up with stuff. So it was a very organic process.
I think it's a very brave and forward-thinking piece of writing, which I did at the time. I still do now.
I don't think I'm rewriting the Bible with Darkplace, but I am adding an addendum.
Well, all he was trying to achieve, basically, was to put down on celluloid what he'd been trying for various years to put down, on paper. He has a very distinctive style, you see. That's what, got me thinking, it could be quite good, because, if he can do what he did within the books, in film, then he possibly might have something fairly new to say. And I still, think that's probably the case. Nobody writes books like Garth Marenghi. Nobody.
Ahmed had financed films before. He was interested in motion pictures himself and the moving image. And I persuaded him that this was a worthwhile artistic endeavour.
And what happened to him? Because
Ahmed very, very sadly died. He was shot dead in his flat.
I was actually led to believe that Darkplace was going to be a film. From the outset, it's only when arguments ensued between various other cast members and things, it was cut up into so many episodes. I think it probably would have benefited from being, a full sort of feature. But what can you do?
But, according to reports, if it were to have been a feature film, it would have run at 7 hours.
Would it have been that long? Good heavens. Well, see, now that's too long. 2.5, I think, is most. Well, no, not even that. Well, obviously that's a problem. Better off as a TV series then. Can't always be right.
The main problem was that we made this show, and I forgive me for not telling you this up front when we hired you, but we made this show without any channel's permission. So I just started making the show with Garth, paying for it myself, and we didn't know you had to be asked. So we made it, gave it to the channel, and they said, "I'm sorry, we didn't ask you to make this." I said, "What do you mean? You didn't ask us to make this? How, do you ask everyone before they make a show?" And they said, "Yes, we do." And I went, "This is news to me, sweetheart. I made this show with my sweat and blood. I spent the last 4 weeks of my life making this show. Do you want it?" "No," they say. So I'm, caught between the devil and the deep blue sea, having to sell 40 episodes of a medical-based horror show with no one buying it. That's why we had to put it out in Peru. Thank God for the Peruvian market.
Douglas, first and foremost, I wanted Douglas to be every man. I wanted him to be everything that an audience member would want to be, would aspire to be, had been in the past. It had to be Johnny Average. It had to be your average Daily Mail reader. In many ways, he is an extension of my own natural abilities. He's got a little bit more than me. He is a little more tragic than I am as a character. He's seen the dark side a little too much. Rick Douglas travels in a golf cart around the hospital corridors. Now, I know that some people will say doctors don't really do that. Well, it depends. If you go to a private hospital and you ask for it, you'll get it. I like to think if I was a doctor, I'd probably soup up all my implements. I think I wouldn't wear a white lab coat, I don't think. I'd wear a leather one.
Sanchez is a really complex guy. I mean, he's been in the Falklands. He's seen some serious stuff. super glued men together, that type of thing, the type of thing that you and I will never see. So you've got to give respect to these kind of characters, which I hope I did. One Track Lover was written with Garth falling in love with a broccoli woman. Anyway, from what I remember, he had to be out of town to do something with his wife. I can't remember what it was. So therefore, there wasn't any time, so I did it. That's all it was. Otherwise, it would have been him. So no, there was no, letting us see, the different sides, to Dr. Sanchez. Sanchez was, just going to be just this down the line surgeon, didn't take any shit, did what he wanted. If he wanted to operate that day, he did. If he didn't, he didn't. That was pretty much how it ran. So that's why I fell in love, with a broccoli woman. I believe it's a very good episode. The main sort of focus of the end of the episode, of the broccoli episode, Sanchez loses, his old chap because he's laid down with a broccoli woman. I mean, it is, for instance, if you imagine somebody like Jean-Michel Jarre losing their hands. We can only imagine what that would be like.
I played Reed as a slightly dishevelled boss anyway. He was a man who was trying to deal with maverick doctors. I mean, Sanchez and Douglas are maverick doctors. They're great doctors, but they do doctoring their way. And Reed has to contend with that. He's got a hospital to run. He's got Wonton on his back 24/7. He's got the third floor to contend with. And, he used to be one of the best surgeons on the wing. But he lost a knee in Korea, and so he can't operate anymore.
I thought he lost a bollock in Korea.
Yeah, he had a bad time in Korea. He lost a knee and a ball.
There was a lot of trouble because Dean wore boots as well. And partly why I bought the boot was to kind of raise my height a little. As you know, I am, I wouldn't say significantly, but I suppose I am, to any bystander, a little bit shorter than Dean. But Dean would deliberately buy bigger heeled boots to make me look smaller on set. So then I would buy a boot with a bigger heel to up the ante. And then it became this really rather ridiculous boot war, which never really ended. And there were a lot of casualties, and it was a sorry business, and it was stupid and crazy, and it went on for 5 years.
He wears those ridiculous cowboy boots that make him slightly taller. I never understand men that do that. I think Tony Blair does that. Lifts, they're called. These hugely arrogant, stupid men, they're as bad as fucking toupees. They wear these lifts to make themselves an inch higher than they already are. If you're small, you're small. Think anyone gives a shit if you're 5 foot or 5'1"? You know what I mean? With a lift on your shoe. You're still a short man. Unbelievable what people do. And I believe he's still doing that. He's still wearing cowboy boots now with built-up heels. Fantastic stuff. Always makes me snigger.
Well, he's gone on record as saying that you're a good foot shorter than him.
Really? How tall does he think he is, then? Answer that.
I'm nearly 6 foot. And Dean is, I think, 6'2", something like that.
He says he's 6 foot. Garth Marenghi, 6 foot tall. He's barely 5 foot and wears lifts. End of story.
There are a lot of guns in this show. Do you think that's realistic for life in a hospital, Todd?
Is there a lot of guns? I don't particularly remember using a gun that often. I don't think there are guns used in hospitals in this country, though I think that there should be. If I was a doctor in this day and age, I would definitely be carrying a gun. Saturday night in Casualty, you get all kinds of people. Most of them are pissed. And they don't recognise that you're actually there to help them. You see, so they can, all these sort of situations, can then flare up. And if you just flash a bit of steel, I think, it would soon sort out the men from the boys.
Have you used a gun, personally?
Yeah, I have used a gun. There are certain times when one is backed into a corner where the only way of getting out of that particular corner is with a gun.
What sort of
That's
gun?
life, isn't it?
That's what I found.
Do you use guns as well?
If I had to, I'd use a gun. I've not had to shoot anyone in the face as yet, but I would happily... I'd shoot you in the face if I had to.
Him?
I mean, I'd try not to, but if I had to, I'd shoot you in the face.
State of the NHS at the moment, you don't know who you're treating half the time. I've honestly, when I was in the hospital last year, my mother was in there, and I shit you not, there were a couple, curtains round, in that very ward. And the nurse came by and said, it happens all the time.
And if you'd been a doctor, you would have shot them.
If I'd been a doctor in that situation, I would certainly have pulled out my gun and ordered them to halt.
If you came into my car, for instance, okay, demanded that I got out of my car so you could have my car. Now, this kind of thing, does go on. It goes on in this country now. I should be able to kill you for that. Okay, shoot you dead in my own car for telling me to get out of my car so you can take it. But you'd be in the shit, you'd be up against, the judge gripping the yoke. The guy that they got to be raped by the eye hadn't seen any photographs, didn't know what was going on, didn't know what would be asked of him. He was just, some extra that was told he had to lie in a bed all day. So, of course, he's going to say yes. And then they bought this bloody great thing with this, dwarf chap inside, with this cock that was coming up and down, like, behind this poor boy. And, yeah, he got a bit, he got a bit upset about that. I've seen it. It makes me laugh. I think it's very, very well done.
You don't find it chilling, then?
Chilling? The idea is chilling, oh, yes. But, no, I mean, because the thing is, I was there while it was being filmed, you see, and it was rather a hoot for me. Garth didn't find it at all funny. He took, the whole thing very, very seriously.
I have a problem with your word bugger there, okay? The man was impregnated to death, in my book.
Stuart and Kim were carpenters / builders. They put in a decent little performance as well. Harrison Ford was a carpenter. As far as I'm concerned, Harrison Ford is still a carpenter. But, he's done very well on it. He looks like he's always just about to fit a joist, as far as I'm concerned. That guy is on autocruise. Harrison Ford is on autocruise. I wish he'd just get it into fourth gear once in a while.
And, of course, Jesus was a carpenter.
Jesus, also, another great carpenter. I don't know whether he was a good carpenter, but his eye wasn't really on the job from the age of 27 up. He had bigger fish to fry, literally, bigger fish to fry. But it just shows that woodwork is a good grounding for whatever profession you end up going into.
Graham is very, very tall. It's very difficult to act with somebody that tall unless, I suppose, you're doing something like science fiction, where he can play, I don't know, an alien or something. Normal BBC drama, there's nowhere for him. He can't really play a lead. I mean, what kind of leading lady is going to be doing that all the time? A leading man with him the whole time. No, it's ridiculous. Dean's very tall, but nowhere near as tall as Graham. Graham's a giant. Garth's direction pretty much consisted of, can you be here at 9:30? There's no cab or anything. Probably best you bring something to eat also. That's true as well. I've not made that up. Absolutely true.
Did he ever mention your performance?
Well, he just said he liked certain bits. I mean, he pretty much, left me to my own devices, I think. He knew I could do it. He had many other things to worry about. So did Dean.
Was it true that Garth has a habit of muttering no to himself when someone was doing a take?
Yeah, he does, yeah.
I sent a memo out, did I not? Because you and I drafted it together. A memo was sent out, first week, pre-production, saying, point out to everyone concerned, cast and crew, that Garth Marenghi, the director of this project, will be speaking at twice the speed that he usually does when directing people on set.
He would pretty much shoot everybody else's scene at the end of the day, so that there was a certain rush, which meant you had to get them done, so you just got one take at them. Whereas if a scene involved himself, that would be done, near enough first thing. So, he got about 4 or 5 goes at it, which I can understand. His cash, fair enough.
You're not popular on set, are you?
Go on.
Garth bollocked the sound man because he said the mic was putting him off acting. And he said, "Get that thing away from me." And the sound man said, "Well, if I do get that thing away from you, we won't be able to hear you." And Garth said that wasn't his problem. That was the sound man's problem. That if he couldn't mic him up on the other side of the room, then he would go looking for another sound man. The thing with crew is that they do insist on getting paid. They're not artists. They insist on money. I said, "You will have your bunts at the end of the week, cash in hand." And they did not believe me, because 3 weeks in, they still had only got coppers off me. And I said, "Look, you're getting fed. You've got a roof over your head if you want to doss down here. But I can't pay you yet. Stay with me, believe in this, you'll get your money."
The crew was getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
How many people did you start with and how many did you end with?
Crew, I remember, I could be wrong here, of about 30. I think there was 7 at the end.
And did that include you?
Yeah.
I was doing the camera, I was doing the lighting, I was doing the sound, I was doing the bloody catering.
What soils my memory of the production, and it always comes back to me, is it was the combined drinking and lovemaking at all hours, which really did, I thought, insult my intelligence, because I wasn't running a circus in my book. I wasn't running a circus. I wasn't running some shoddy cowboy outfit, and at times.
I'm sorry you think that.
Well, you and Dean were seen on set naked and photographed that way.
I don't remember that at all.
No, you don't remember that.
I don't, I don't doubt that.
Dean don't remember it either. But it's on film.
There was a lovely little thing called Tika, was she called? She had a twin sister. Beautiful girl. That I got actually confused. And because the way that the actual caravan was, there was 2 doors. I was in one side, Dean was in the other. And drink had flowed, and I didn't know whether it was Tika or her sister had gone in one door, come out the other. Dean had gone in one door, Tika had come out, I'd gone in the other. Absolute mayhem, but such good fun.
I think at an early age it's important to tether your beast. Otherwise it can run riot. And in the days of Darkplace, I have to say, Todd, you and Dean ran riot.
Well, let me say one thing about that. I would say a man who behaves like a beast shall never suffer the pain of being a man. Yet a man without love is like an orchard without cherry blossom. That's the way I feel about it now. I've mellowed, I think.
We have restored Darkplace to as near its original condition as we can get it. But a lot of the film is lost in the Thames. There was a police raid on my house, and I had to get rid of certain articles sharpish. In that mix-up, I ended up dumping half of Darkplace in the bottom of the Thames. There's no going back from that. I apologised to Garth. He understood. He's a good friend. But this is partly why we're yakking so much in this, just to fill up the bloody time. The editing was done in the old way, on an old flatbed editing thing, which is why it sometimes jumps around. Because once you cut, you cut. And we cut with scissors, and we just threw the stuff away that we didn't want. So sometimes we'd cut it, throw what we thought we didn't want away, and just think, oh, we could have used that, but by that time we'd scrapped it. Or it was covered in beans or something, you know.
I never really saw myself as an actor. I had acted at school. I played a shepherd in the nativity play. The year after that, I played one of the kings in the nativity play.
Garth's not bad. You know, he could have gone on to do other things, possibly. I don't think he's that interested, but, you know, he seems to, you know, remember his lines, which I suppose he should do as he, you know, as he wrote them that morning.
I do tend to, you know, do a little bit of Stanislavskian. Have you heard of him? Stanislavskian psycho technique. Do you know what that is? I do that.
2 takes, yeah. If you can't, you know, basically nail the thing in 2, you know, then you know, pissing in the wind, I think.
If you can't get it in 1 take, then you're not an actor, in my opinion. It's an odd one. Dean's not an actor. But I told him at the time I didn't want an act. Not interested. I want the truth. Dean's one of the truest people I've ever met. He will not lie to me. So I just wanted that. I wanted to capture him. As far as I was concerned, he's my boss of sorts. It was more about not wanting to have anyone else as my boss who I couldn't trust. I don't like being bossed. I don't like having a boss. And I knew that if I cast anyone in the role of Thornton Reed, I'd probably sack them within a couple of weeks because they'd just rub me up the wrong way.
Dean had never acted. Now, I know Dean. I mean, I'd known Dean for a fair few sort of years before we actually did this. He never spoke about, you know, sort of wishing to act. It was just about saving money. Yeah, Dean had never acted at all. I remember on the first day that we got there, we had to, you know, do some sort of camera tests. And first thing, Dean would do this. It would be a case of him going, "Can you see what I'm doing there? Now, just by blinking of the eyes, I'm making myself weaker. You see, as an actual performer, one is much weaker, you know, when blinking the eyes." So I said, "Dean, stop. Think about next month's rent. Think about your tax bill, you know, trying to bring the guy down." Straight away, he got it.
Any emotion you care to mention, I can do now, thanks to Mr. Todd Rivers.
It comes from the shoes, comes from the feet, yeah, it comes from rhythm.
If I were to do terror, it's not too much, you see. Because before, with terror, I'd be going, "That's too much. That camera's like a bloody magnifying glass. You can see everything. You can see thought. So you're in for a treat. Hope you can't. But it can, actually."
I like his vacancy. I like it. I think there's a rawness to it. It's almost like he's made a pact with Lucifer, you know, and Thornton Reed, I think if the series had gone on, we would have discovered how Thornton Reed had kissed the bottom of Lucifer.
I'm a great believer in Garth's writing, and so I didn't want to do too much with the words. And Todd was saying perhaps I was doing too little with the words. And I thought, all right, I'll take that on board. And so, you know, if I was picking up the phone, instead of just going, "Good morning," which is how I started off, I go, "Good morning." You know, just give it a little bit of something.
How do you pick up the phone at Beelzebub's?
"Hello, Dean Lerner," is how I pick it up if I'm at Beelzebub's, because it's important to give a good... It's important to give the customer confidence. And so I will pick up the phone and use a bit of a voice. So you're an actor when you're a publisher, so I'll pick up the phone and go, "Hello, Dean Lerner. How may I help you? Can I interest you in a book? Which one would you like?" So that's 2 books on their way to you. Thank you very much. Goodbye. And that makes them feel that they're in safe hands, because the guy's been courteous. He's got the 2 books that they had, that they'd wanted, and he's putting them in the post the next day in a brown paper envelope so that the wife doesn't see.
How do you answer the phone at home?
"Dean."
I think he actually could have made up a lot of those lines while he was going. I mean, it looks as if he did. He's very good, though. He's not an actor, but, you know, not many of them were.
Who are your main inspirations as an actor?
As an actor?
Anyone from Star Trek, really?
No.
Well, I'm speaking personally.
My great inspirations, I've always admired Chuck Norris. But that's really, and I know that he's not a Shakespearean actor as such, but he was the chief inspiration for my action moments.
He's a cinematic actor.
But I really like the guy who played Maverick. What's his name? Garner.
James Garner.
A wonderful actor.
Did he do the shampoo?
Did he do Heart to Heart? Or was that Robert Wagner? He's good as well.
I've always liked Mr. T.
Mr. T, sadly, is no longer with us.
I tried to put on Othello with Mr. T, but he wouldn't get on a plane. I mean, he literally wouldn't. I thought it was just in a show, but he actually refused to get on a plane.
No, that's true. I mean, they wrote
He didn't
that
call
in.
me a fool or ask for milk, but he wouldn't
He was
get
very
on a plane.
polite. He was very polite about it, not like B.A. Baracus, but he did refuse. You're quite right. He was a lovely chap, really nice. Bit too Christian for me,
Yeah,
and he's no longer with us, or is he?
I don't know.
I think he's just ill.
I did Love Labour's Lost with Peter Wingard, who was he came to a sticky end, but an incredible actor. You know, I would say as good, as any, of the big names. Gielgud, whatever. Wingard definitely had it. Right up to the end.
What do you think about the theory that Darkplace was cursed?
So you want to talk about the curse of Darlplace?
Darkplace was cursed. I mean, I went bankrupt. Garth had a nervous breakdown. Todd became an alcoholic.
I became very bitter of the actual business itself after making Darkplace. That much is true. I suppose it did curse me, yes. I'm not really interested in the other supernatural nonsense, that may have arisen from the show. Didn't affect me. Don't care about things like that. That's just a way of getting people to watch the show. I've also found that out.
If you are an extra on a show or on a film, you know the risks. They know there's a risk that you might die. That's why you get paid £80 a day. You might die. You probably won't die, but you might. What's probably going to happen is you're going to be 80 quid up on bunts. But you might die. Now, some of the extras on Darkplace died. But some didn't. They all got paid. Their families got paid. I waved adieu to everyone who passed away during the filming of this, with a tear in my eye and a song in my heart. But they knew the risks. We were using live physical effects. We were using flying knives that hadn't been blunted because they were straight from my kitchen. Their memories are with us. Not too well, but they're with us.
There are some things you can't rush.
With filming.
Exactly. There are some things you can't rush sawing, and you can't rush hammering, which we asked them to do.
And so the turning point was the death of the grip. That's when we lost the crew. We had a flying bin, and that bin careered out of control, and I believe the word is brained. It brained him. And we said, all right then, Colin, you have half a day off. So out he staggered into the morning, bright as you like, and he walked into a bus. Now, did we kill him or did that bus kill him? I say it's the bus driver, but he got off. I had to go through the indignity of a manslaughter trial.
Do I believe in the what?
The Horned one.
The Horned one? What kind of nonsense is that? Do I believe in the Horned? Do you mean, do I believe in the hoof-footed one?
Yes.
Do you know, I think I do.
I could see the darkness in her eyes. I knew that she'd done things with the Horned one.
What sorts of things do you think she was doing?
Well, I don't like to speculate as to what Madeline was actually doing. I do know that if you're a witch and you make a pact with Lucifer, you have to kiss his bottom. She would not learn lines correctly. She'd slip up. She would... I'd find her nudging my arm accidentally when I didn't want it to be nudged. She wouldn't sit on Todd's knee. And, after a while you think, for God's sake, it's a joke. Just sit on the man's knee and he'll stop asking.
I went into the caravan, to the sort of toilet cubicle, because I'd left my earring in there. And she was in the shower. So I said, my dear, I'm sorry, I've left my earring in the shower. And of course she was naked, so I turned round. And I turned back, and I shit you not, my friend, she was gone when I turned round again.
So what would you say the message of Darkplace is?
Keep making good television. You know, Darkplace is very, very good television. You know, storylines are bang on, not bad acting. Yeah, you know, but they don't want to make things like this anymore.
I mean, I believe that the great shows have come and gone. T.J. Hooker's come and gone. Dukes of Hazzard's come and gone. You know, Crystal Maze has come and gone. We won't see shows like that again. In our small way, I hope we're contributing to that canon. It might be a niche market. Who knows? Who knows? I'm sure people would rather watch Big Brother, rather watch people shower. And to be honest, I'd rather watch people shower than watch this.
Simple storytelling. That's what's lacking now. That's what's lacking in cinema, TV programs, TV, you know, expensive TV drama, simple storytelling, decent acting, thought-provoking stuff.
Art isn't a commodity that you haul in and out.
No.
Like dildos.
Darkplace sums up television as we know it. By that I mean, to the untrained eye, everything looks smooth, hugely entertaining, everyone looks good. You know, everything is tied up at the end. Yet, the reality is far different. It was horrible to work on. I didn't get paid any money for it, and to be honest, I can't remember a thing about it now. And that's the way I hope it stays. Thanks very much.
Because I will not pay a licence. I believe that the gift of Darkplace is such a sufficient gift to television that I don't believe I ever should really have to pay a licence again. I really don't. That's my gift. I've paid my licence 100 times over with just one episode of Darkplace. So if they come, you know, gypping me for a licence again, up theirs.